With all that, there's little wonder the corporate regulator ASIC is busy regulating the crypto sector here right now. Just this week, the regulator lodged an appeal in the federal court after it had dismissed its case against the Finder Wallet, part of the finance group led by Rich Lester, Fred Sylvester. And on Friday, ASIC appointed receivers to seize the assets of Brisbane-based crypto mining company NGS Crypto. So Ed Boyd caught up with the ASIC Chair Joe Longo just after all that happened.
What's interesting about what's happening internationally is that each jurisdiction is taking a slightly different approach. So the Americans, for example, we often look to the US, it's all about whether it's a security or not an investment security. And that they've got a very different approach to Australia, where we have a different regime around financial products and services, and the UK takes a different approach. So I think the way to approach it is every jurisdiction has a different approach, but we're all focused on consumer protection.
We're recording this Friday morning. Now, this morning you've commenced civil proceedings against a Brisbane-based Bitcoin mining company, NGS Crypto, appointed receivers over the company's digital assets. What have they allegedly done wrong?
Well, they didn't have a licence. So what we're saying there is that they attracted over $41 million in investment from over 400 Australians, and in doing so, our allegation is that they weren't licensed to do so, and we're now concerned that the assets or activities in which the investors have put their money, we're concerned about what's happened to that money. And so the purpose of the appointment of receivers is to task them to see what's there. We're at a very early stage of our investigation, so that's why we did it, to protect investors.
Yeah, because you go on their website, it looks like you can lock in money for a fixed term, say 2 years. You get paid a fee monthly or annually, and they actually use that money to mine bitcoins. So when did you first kick off this investigation? Well,
this is a relatively new investigation, literally only just started over the last few weeks. We've done a bit of work on this to satisfy ourselves that this is something that we should be concerned about and take action over. But I think the key point for our purposes today is that we're at the early stages of our investigation. We'll be in a better position to give some reassurance to investors as to what's happened to their money in the coming months.
Now, you've also been busy this week. You've appealed the federal court decision in regards to a product called Finder Earn. I know it's pretty complex, but why do you think you can win this battle at appeal?
Yeah, well, the key thing here is that people think that crypto is not regulated. It is regulated. It may not be completely regulated, which is why we've got law reform coming. So part of ASIC's strategy is to test the regulatory perimeter. So in that case, the one you've just mentioned, we think it's a debenture. And the trial judge took a different view, and reasonable minds can differ. But we feel as the regulator that it is a debenture, and if it is, it's regulated. They didn't have a licence, and we want to send a strong message to industry that they need to be very careful about how they promote or package up sort of crypto or digital asset related investments and think they're not regulated, because they may very well be.
I mean, how often would you go to appeal?
Well, whether or not we appeal a decision depends on whether we think we have reasonable prospects of appeal. As I said, particularly in matters where reasonable minds can differ, we believe that the better argument is that what happened in that matter is that it is a debenture, and the trial judge erred. So in that kind of case where we're trying to send a strong message to the market about the regulatory perimeter, then we will take matters on appeal if we think we have reasonable prospects of success.
Globally, crypto's generated a lot of headlines, fraud-related headlines the past few months. Sam Bankman-Fried, Do Kwon. Are you ever vigilant, looking for the next potential Australian crypto fraudster?
Absolutely. For some time now, I've been very concerned about this activity. It is a high-risk, speculative activity. It's an activity that's often associated with money laundering and with assisting crime. And it's an activity that for many investors or consumers, it's not entirely clear what they're investing in. So I remain concerned about this activity, and we will continue to monitor what's going on in this market. We have a number of current matters, where we're sending out notices and informing ourselves as to whether the activity is lawful or not. If we think it's a financial product or service, we will take action.
Yeah, does it concern you that many people who may have invested in crypto over a period of time were potentially naive and susceptible, therefore, to fraud?
Well, I think we all have a choice as to what we want to invest in. Crypto is now generally, it's an activity people often talk about. As recently as 2 or 3 years ago, not so prominent. But these days, I think everyone has a view about crypto. People have strong views about whether they should invest in it or not. That's a matter for them. My job is to administer the law. A lot of crypto-related investment activity is subject to current regulation, and if it's not, people aren't complying with the law at the moment, we'll take action.
Yeah, well, just on action, do you feel like you do have sufficient powers in this space to enforce the law correctly?
Well, we have a number of matters that we're investigating, a number of court matters. I think that the better question, the issue in a nutshell, is the current regulatory framework sufficient? And the government, we're working very closely with government and Treasury to come up with a regulatory framework that is more fit for purpose, if you like. So that the key point is it's not entirely unregulated at the moment. If it's a financial product or service, we will be there. However, this activity is new and unusual. The Corporations Act doesn't really easily talk about digital assets and crypto. So there needs to be some reform to get a grip on what we're dealing with here. But in the meantime, we will take action, we will test the regulatory perimeter, we'll continue to warn consumers and investors that this is a risky, speculative activity, and in the meantime we'll work with government for a more bespoke, if you like, regulatory regime. Yeah,
that draft legislation, do you think it will be ready by the end of this year?
Well, at the moment we're still in the consultation phase. The draft legislation hasn't been exposed yet. It's certainly a government priority. We're doing everything we can to work with government and Treasury to make progress there. The government has a lot on its plate. We'll have to see how that lands.
And how confident are you with crypto and where it's going over the rest of this year?
Yeah. Well, I'm not here to be an apologist for crypto. I think all I can say and continue saying is that this is a risky, speculative activity. It is an activity that is often associated with money laundering and financial crime. It's an activity that, unlike investing in a company stock or in land, what you're investing in isn't so clear. So it's a risky activity, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
Joe Longo, Chairman of ASIC, thanks so much for your time.